Intelligence Committee Congressman Jim Himes of Connecticut. Any reason why that video needs to be kept top secret?
Of course not, Katie. And in fact, the Secretary of Defense, there is not a single boat strike that about an hour later, it's not up on Twitter with the Secretary of Defense doing, high fives or whatever the online equivalent is. So no, of course they can make the double tap available, and they must do so because Americans need to see what is being done in their name. It is a shocking video, and that's why they're not making it available. Look, again, what else can I say but for the fact that, the Secretary of Defense puts up these videos every single day. But this one may be double top secret, and therefore he's got a problem with it. So it's absurd.
What exactly did you hear from Rubio and Hegseth today regarding the justification for those strikes? Was it enough for you?
Well, look, fortunately, like Mark Warner, who you had on, you were talking to him before, I have been briefed in virtue of my role on the Intelligence Committee. This was the first briefing to the whole Congress, which is really, really important, right, for a couple of reasons. Number one, Marco Rubio is saying that this thing has been a success. Well, if the idea is to stop the flow of lethal drugs into the United States, why are we working on cocaine? Because 2 times as many Americans die from fentanyl as die from cocaine. And by the way, let's just imagine that there aren't any more boats going through the Caribbean. Does Marco Rubio really believe that the cocaine is not going to be on aircraft, which it is, or moving up overland through Panama and north? So, the wildest success here is that we simply succeed in moving the way that cocaine is transited into our country. And, oh, by the way, along the way, there's some pretty important questions that the Congress should be debating about whether we should be using the military to take down criminals. And if so, by the way, can police go up to the corner drug dealer in Memphis, Tennessee and shoot him in the head? Because, look, that's legally speaking the equivalent of what we're doing here without any consultation or approval by the United States Congress.
Yeah, trafficking drugs is not a death penalty offense here in the United States. They say, Rubio and Hegseth argue, that they're dismantling these drug networks. Do you have any reason to believe that they're doing that? Is this sending a message, don't traffic drugs in other ways, by air or by land?
Yeah, of course they're not. I mean, of course they're not dismantling these networks. That's insane. They are not dismantling these networks. What they have done is using a significant portion of United States naval combat power. They have succeeded in slowing the flow of cocaine by boat through the Caribbean. Now, as I just said, you can put cocaine on an airplane. You can put cocaine, in a backpack and carry it across the Darien Gap in Panama. So, no, the idea that these networks are being dismantled, the reality is, and we've learned this lesson over 50 years, unless you really get at the demand for these drugs, until you figure out how to stop Americans from being willing to put their hard-earned money down for cocaine or for fentanyl, these networks will exist to service that demand.
Chief of Staff Susie Wiles, in talking to Vanity Fair, said the boat strikes would rattle President Maduro and get him to go away, which is regime change. Is it your sense that this is really an effort at regime change? And if it is, why?
Yeah, look, I think these boat strikes have 2 purposes. Number one, even though they're not in any way going to dismantle drug networks, that's crazy, because the drugs will find another way. And even though, we could question the wisdom of using the United States military to execute drug traffickers, they're performative. A big boom. This is why the videos go up every single day. A big boom. It gives you the impression that this administration is actually doing something to address the problem. As a byproduct, yes, there's no doubt in my mind that Marco Rubio in particular thinks that this is putting pressure on Maduro, along with other things like seizing oil tankers, which, by the way, was actually a legal activity in contrast to what is happening with these drug-running boats. Marco Rubio, of course, I think would love to see this regime fall, but I think he also knows, because he's smart enough to know, that direct military action to try to cause that regime to fall would be a very, very risky thing to do.
But why would we want the Maduro regime to fall? Is it about the oil? Are we trying to get access to their oil reserves? I believe it's the 17 largest, it has 17% of the world's oil in Venezuela.
Well, I mean, let's start with something which I think is more important, which is that Maduro is an illegitimate leader who stole an election in order to preserve power in Venezuela. He's also an indicted drug trafficker, right? So, I mean, this is a very bad guy. Make no mistake. Nobody's arguing that Maduro is a good guy and that he should be in power. The question is, what do we do about it? And look, are there people out there, in this administration in particular, which is known for its transactional foreign policy, did it occur to people in the White House that maybe there might be deals to be done with Venezuelan oil if the regime were to fall? My guess is it probably occurred to people in the White House that might be a happy byproduct of regime change in Venezuela.
What about this War Powers vote tomorrow, the War Powers resolution? Are you expecting that there's going to be Republican sign-on?
Yeah, I do. I don't know if it'll be enough, but, again, people have different views of the legality of killing drug traffickers. What you shouldn't have any debate over is that when the United States is effectively at war, that the Constitution requires the Congress to debate that and to ultimately approve the use of our military. The Constitution is not ambiguous about that. So we've put forward this War Powers resolution, which says that these military activities must stop until Congress has performed its constitutional duty of authorizing the use of military force. We don't want to live in an America in which the Constitution is ignored and the next 5 presidents get to commit whatever it is, a quarter of American naval combat power or Air Force power or military power to the war of their choosing without the consultation of the representatives of the people.
There is a disturbing incident out of Sydney, Australia. There was one over the weekend with the shooting at the Hanukkah celebration, killing 16 people. The 2 shooters, there was an homemade ISIS flag found in their car. How worried should we be about something like that happening here? And are you confident the U.S. government is trying to protect against that?
Well, I do worry about that, Katie. I mean, the horrendous, brutal terrorist attack on Bondi Beach in Australia, we saw the images. I mean, just absolutely horrendous. And I do worry, because I am paid in virtue of my role as ranking member of the Intelligence Committee to worry. I do worry that, reorienting all of our assets against the cartels, we don't have infinite assets. That means that somebody somewhere is not watching terrorism quite as intensely as we used to, because so many of American assets have been turned now onto the Caribbean.
All right, Congressman Jim Himes, ranking member of House Intel, thank you very much for joining us as always.
Thank you.